I've got a problem. In 10 days, I'm heading to Maker Central. And just saying 10 days makes me feel like I really can't get this done. In fact, hang on. Let me just start making while I tell you about what's happening. See, if you don't know what Maker Central is, it's a big event over here in the UK where makers and content creators get together with the public in one big venue in Birmingham. And this year is the first year I'm going to be going as a content creator, which to me is huge. I've got no merch of any kind. I've got nothing that I can actually give away. And that to me is a problem, a really big problem. I've got 10 days to design and make something swappable, some kind of merch, something that people might actually want to keep. Now normally I'd just fire up my machines, the 3D printer or the laser cutter. Problem is they just don't do what I want. What I want is more details, more color, more flexibility, more wow factor, something I can learn quickly, something that can print pictures and fancy graphics with a bit of texture onto stuff. And I think today I got lucky, because I think I found the solution. This is the Eufymake E1 UV printer, and it promises to do everything I need and more. Now, while I've been talking to you, I've been making a load of blanks because we're going to hit this in 2 stages. First of all, we're going to prototype. We're going to whiz through a load of designs on a load of different blanks, and then we're going to decide on what we're going to put forward to a mass production batch printout for all the merch that I can take with me to Maker Central, and we're going to see what this machine can do for a guy that is so technically inept. Well, let's just say this better be really easy to use. Now here's the bad news. What you saw in the first few minutes of this video, me producing, took 2 days. So suddenly 10 days has become 8. So the time crunch on this is starting to be a little bit stressful. But the progress has been made and we're ready to start printing. First test. Let's quickly get it set up. I've never used a UV printer before, but the idea is you print directly onto, well, pretty much anything. Wood, acrylic, metal, plastic, loads of different materials. Now, I'll be honest with you, the setup for me had to be simple, and it was. Because as I said before, I put myself at the lower end of the spectrum of people with technical capabilities, right at the bottom. But as soon as this came out of the box, the first thing that surprised me was how compact it was. I was expecting something way bigger because, well, I'd seen the size of the bed that goes on it and how much you can actually produce on this. What I hadn't thought of was how clever the design was that the front and back can open and that the tray itself moves under the printer. So this actually fits on my desk. And using it couldn't be simpler. Design goes in, material goes in, print comes out. Now I'm not going to pretend to understand the exact details of how this works, because as far as I can see, this isn't actually ink. We may as well call it resin, which makes it far more hard wearing. And it's built up in layers, which gives you an amazing amount of texture. You see, the jet sprays the resin, and then a sweep of the UV light cures it instantly. And it does that layer by layer until it's built the full design. That is really cool. So now we've got it all set up, we've got to do the fun bit, the experiment. This is the prototyping stage. I need to try every material, every shape, every design, and then at the end, we're gonna have to pick something that's gonna batch well. And after setup and a few tests, we're down to 7 days. So every time I do a print, I'm gonna tell you the cost and the time it's taken to do it, because I think that's really important for people to consider if this is the right tool for them. One thing during the experimental stage that I noticed is before you hit print, it'll tell you how much it's going to use and how long it's going to take, and afterwards it'll remind you of that as well. So if you're using this as part of a business, you can really budget your costs. Now I'm not going to show you all of the blanks that I've bought, but there's a couple of pretty exciting ones towards the end, which I'm only going to make a couple of because they're bigger. And I just want to test the machine for every part that I've been given with it. One of which, the Rotary tool, I think will open up a huge business for anybody out there with reasonable design skills. So the first set of experiments I'm calling Woodworker's Choice Coins. The idea here is that it's going to be like flipping a coin with 2 choices, one on each side. These choices are going to be things like tidy up or start making something, or buy the tool and don't not buy the tool. So let's see what comes out. First thing to note is while I'm prototyping, I'm only using the smaller of the bases. There is a much larger base, which means that the enclosure is open, but it can fit a lot more stuff in. But for now, I'm going to keep the enclosure closed to make use of the E1's filter for the fumes. And I'm going to do the first 4 coins. So that's the plywood prints done. It's taken 6 minutes and it's cost approximately 4p per disc for one side. Let's do the next batch. See if we can't make it better. Okay, so this is the second plywood test coming out now. 2 of them I've gone to flat layered, which gives them a bit more height, hoping to get rid of that grain off the wood. But it's come at a cost. The first cost is the print went from 7 minutes to 35 minutes. but because of the layering, it's the ink usage that's jumped up as well. Doesn't sound like a lot, but the total print for these four is now up at £1.50. Now the finish though is absolutely superb. If I was making these to sell, I think I would probably do this. But think about it this way. We're testing. 35 minutes for 4 pieces for a test. That's going to be, what, 8.5 minutes per piece. That's just too much testing time. I think I need to stick to flat for now, and we can make some decisions down the line once we've finished testing. Now, enough messing around. Let's try single layer on acrylic. See what that comes out with. Same system, same process, line it up, send it to the printer, see what happens. See if I can line it up a bit better this time as well. Now the acrylic one came out a lot smoother than the plywood one did. You haven't got to use as many layers to cover all the grooves that the plywood naturally has in it. And figured I could do a little bit of advertising, so I put a QR code on the back that leads to all my links. But it's really quite thin, isn't it? So I've had an idea. Before I do all of the different prototypes, I've taken the time to glue the rest of the remaining blanks together to make them double thickness. Because for the flipper coins, I don't think this has enough weight to it. I've also done a larger one that I'm going to turn into a nice big keyring. I'll show you that in a sec. But that one decision has cost me the best part of a day. Let me very quickly show you the prototypes that we've got. In the coins, I've gone for 3 different designs. Buy the tool, don't buy the tool. Check it's square, assume it's square, start making, tidy up. I had a few blanks left that were singles, so I printed some more of these off. And then the keyrings. I really like the keyrings, and I've gone for a completely random array. Some of them have got the QR codes on the back, and for those, a nice little message. And then some have got the logo on the back. And I am solely working in acrylic at this point, because it is so much easier to get a good result without using a lot of ink. Because I'm also conscious that I've only got one set of the inks to get all of this done. Prototyping and batching. And when we get to the batching part, I'll show you which ones I've taken to mass produce. But first, let's pivot a little bit for a different design. For years, these have been my go-to merch. They're cut out and engraved on the laser, so all you really can do is burn or not burn. It's two-tone. I think the E1 can do a much, much better job, because you can work with any colour you want. And it's a really good time to mention the studio now. All you need to do is take a snapshot of whatever you put onto the bed of the machine, and then using the Eufymake Studio, you can just drag and drop pictures or write on it, text, colours, anything, so you can actually see what your end product's going to look like before you print it. Now, as I've only got the small tray in, I'm only going to be doing the small ones of these, but later when we batch, if these look good enough, I've got a couple of big blanks we can use too. That is an upgrade right there. I'm going to do a few more while I've got it loaded up. Oh yeah, and these cost about a penny each in ink. That's not bad. Now this E1 can make stickers. You can use the laminating machine and it will make you some transfer stickers. But what I want to do is I want to keep making use of its incredible printing ability. So I've got these blanks, a couple of different colours, and I've got AI to turn me into a cartoon. It looks a bit better than the real thing, so I'll go with it. We're going to see how that looks on this. So let's see what we can do. In the Eufymake Studio, you can have different textures. They're right there at the click of a button. You can have flat, you can have flat raised, you can have pattern texture, and you can have a relief texture. This has come out brilliantly. Ink use, around about £1.20. Time, about 50 minutes. What it's done is it's textured the whole surface and it's done a relief on it. So, incredibly, the arm, the head, the body has got all this lovely texture and it bulges in all the right places. I think we can agree that flat is going to go into the batch, unless I can come up with something better in the next couple of days. We've used 4 days and we've got 6 left before this has to be done. So let's just switch gears again. We've done plywood, we've done acrylic. Let's give metal a shot. I've got these small keyring, dog tag type things, and I've got this really thin, flexible aluminium that I thought would make a really cool business card. So let's give it a test. I was really hoping for a better result with metal. First of all, the business card, which I was worried would be too flexible, has come out brilliantly. The print on it is absolutely superb, but I'm a little worried. The metal tags we did, unfortunately, though the print printed out brilliantly as you'd expect, there isn't enough purchase on the metal Now I'm going to stress this is my fault. The metal was unprepared. You can buy a chemical that you add onto this that helps with the bonding for the print. I didn't have time. I just thought I'd throw this in there. Didn't even scuff the surface. Maybe scuffing it would help. I don't have time to go back now. If I hadn't have tried to turn these into keyrings, I wouldn't have noticed. The print itself is actually very sturdy considering what I haven't done. But I do want to stress that is all my fault for lack of preparation. But this flexible card, I'm still going to stick it in my wallet because I think it is very cool. Okay, I think I've saved two of the most exciting prototypes till last, because one shows off a different accessory you get with the Eufymake E1, and the other one because it may just be the most versatile thing I'm going to take to make a central with me. The second one we're going to do is this. I'm hoping I can personalize this. And for that, we're going to use the Rotary accessory. But the most useful one I'm going to make came to me as a bit of an idea. This is the case that protects my camera. But if this doesn't work, I've got another one coming that may just work. I'll show you that as well. Let's try this one first. Okay, I haven't looked for myself at this one yet. It's still on the print bed, but it cost 10 pence and it took 5 minutes. So if it worked, it's going to be pretty impressive. We've gone for the QR code and a little logo. And I figured this would be quite useful because it often comes up in conversation, what do you do? And I say, well, I'm a content creator, I make videos on YouTube. And their response normally is, oh, what's the name of your channel? I'll search for it, which doesn't always work. So having this, which has a link to Linktree, which is all of my links in one place, I think that's going to be really clever. But with only 5 minutes printing, did it work? I don't think that this case is the right type of plastic. I think there's some sort of rubbery compound in it, but if I hadn't have just picked at that with my nail to take the corners of the logo off, I think I would struggle to get the rest of it off. And in the meantime, let me throw the other ones through and I'll show you them. Now, I don't think this one is going to be one that I'm going to mass produce, but it is something that I can use within the workshop. You can buy these covered cut blanks, you can use the Rotary tool that is easy to install into the machine, and you can print on a curved surface, be it a drinks bottle or a cup. And this really does sum up everything about this machine. You can change the beds to the Rotary tool and back again at the click of a switch. There are how-to guides not only on YouTube, but also in the studio itself. It reminds you of things to do and it calibrates itself. It talks directly with the machine. As a complete novice, this didn't feel like it was a real test. And the results from the preview in the design software to the actual real thing, absolutely phenomenal. I have a feeling this may be my new go-to mug when I'm filming Patreon videos, because it's about the only time on camera that I tend to bring a cup of tea with me. Bit of an odd fact. We're now at the end of the prototyping stage, and I've got to be honest, time is running away with this one. So now we've got the tough decision of deciding what we're going to batch out to give away. And because we're under a bit of a time crunch, I'm going to batch these out while I talk to you about which ones we're keeping. And I'm going to tell you about a few unforeseen mistakes on my part that have added to the workload. The little triangles, they're in. The metal dog tags to be used as keyrings, they're out. The coasters, these are less useful, but they're great for a sticker swap. I'm going to need about 15 to 20 of these to give to other makers. Not a massive batch. The double thickness acrylic keyrings, with one side being some sort of logo or QR code, and the other side being fun little catchphrase. I'm going to make these, but because I can put lots of different designs in, I'm going to do probably more than one type. I mean, the two catchphrases I like, the make more worry less I like, but I also like this one because it goes back to the channel. Start making, with excuses crossed off, and then sawdust. And as you can see, nice simple QR code on the back. These coins, the single skin, these with the simple start making logo and the same QR code on the back, they're not going to work, but I do have a few of the single blanks, so I might just use them up on that and just give them away randomly. And then the thing I think I'm happiest with, the coin toss, but not every design is going to make it. I'm going to go with 3 to try and simplify it a bit. First one side, buy the tool, but if you hit the red, don't not buy the tool. Just thought that might be quite fun at a show where you can buy tools so people can go around and, well, I can enable them. Check it's square, or just assume it's square. Basically a nice way of saying go easy on yourself. Although, actually if something's not square then it can cause a lot of problems down the line. And there is one more. One side tidy up, one side start make. So again, it just relates back to the channel. I think these are just going to be fun. But the one thing that we learnt from the prototypes, in my opinion, is that if you are starting out and you're making a bit of merch and you don't want to use a lot of ink, it's a lot easier to do it on acrylic because you haven't got to cover the grain of wood. But if you are going to do it on wood, either raise the quality, put a bit of contouring in there, or just a few extra layers of white on the bottom, which is so simple to change within the studio. So we've batched out around 150 different products, whether it's the coins, the squares, the coasters, the things we decided that we're going to batch now. And that's left us with around about 3 days to show, but we're not done. Where I glued 2 blanks together to thicken up the coins, there's a little bits of glue squeeze out on the edges. I was careful, but not that careful. So I'm needing to sand around the edges of each of these. Now I'm going straight in with a high grip because that will just leave me a nice frosted effect, hopefully. But it does take more time. So when you're printing everything flat, it comes out quickly, cheaply, but it doesn't have the gloss finish that if you do it with more layers, as we saw on the wooden blank. But as we're going to batch these because of the cost and the time constraints, I'm going to set them all down in bulk and I'm going to give them a spray coat of lacquer over all of them. That way I'm not going to just save ink, I'm also going to speed up the process, which is something I desperately need to do. But I will say, if you want that better quality and you don't want to go through the effort that I'm having to go through now to speed it up, the Eufymake E1 UV printer is going to do it all for you. And not only do I need to do the finishing touches on these, but I've also got to add a whole lot of hardware to them. So while I finish everything up, I just want to give you a very quick rundown of my final thoughts on this machine. I have to be completely honest with you, everything you've just watched actually happened in pretty much real time. I'm talking to you now with a matter of days left and I've still got to edit parts of this video. The Eufymake E1 UV printer is a sponsor of this video. I cannot tell you how lucky I was that this came along at the exact time that I had to make the merch that I needed for this show. Honest truth. Because without this, I'd have been turning up either without any or with the very basic squares that I always used to make. The fact that you can use AI or design skills to think of anything you want to put on pretty much any material makes this entirely unique in the maker world. So whether you're a hobbyist or a business, whether you're producing large batches or one-off items, whether you're customizing existing work, or whether you're printing out next level pictures and photos, adding texture to things, I estimate that I've probably used this for 10% of its capability during this video. You're going to see a ton of other videos popping up and you're going to see makers embracing this, popping it in alongside their CNCs, 3D printers and lasers. It's going to become another go-to tool within the industry. I want to take this opportunity to thank Eufymake and the E1 UV printer for sponsoring the video, but I also want to thank you guys for watching and for my Patreons for supporting me through this whole process. If I've piqued your interest and you want to consider one of these for yourself, all the details are down in the description. If you want to support the channel, there's also a link down there to Patreon, but if you want to meet in person, as I said, I'll be at Maker Central, Birmingham NEC, 16th of May this year, dishing out some of this free merch and having a chat. Thanks a lot for watching.